In the old part of the city, there stood a government school, its walls cracked, its corridors silent except for the occasional echo of children's voices. During the day, it looked like any other school, but those who stayed back after hours often felt an eerie presence, whispers in the wind, unseen footsteps, and a chilling cold that had no source. Miss Zainab was a young, kind-hearted teacher loved by her students. She had recently joined the school full of dreams and hope, but the principal, a vile and predatory man, had dark intentions toward her. One evening, after all the students had left, the principal tricked Zainab into staying back. As soon as the school fell silent, he attacked her. She screamed, begged for help, but the empty walls swallowed her cries. That night, the monster took her dignity, and to hide his crime, he murdered her. Her lifeless body was buried within the very walls of the school. Zainab's soul did not rest. She roamed the empty hallways, seeking justice. Years later, during a renovation, workers tore down an old wall and discovered a skeleton buried inside. From that day forward, strange occurrences began to shake the school. Even during the brightest hours of the day, the principal's office seemed cursed. Chairs moved on their own, windows slammed shut, and a cold breath could be felt down the spine of every male teacher. One afternoon, the new principal sat alone in his office when he heard a whisper. "You are just like him. Your eyes are filthy." Startled, he turned around. A bloodied woman stood before him, her clothes torn, her eyes hollow yet burning with fury. It was Zainab. Before he could scream, the door locked itself. The next morning, the principal was found unconscious, his hair turned completely white. Anyone in the school who harbored evil intentions toward women met a horrifying fate. A teacher who had a habit of inappropriately touching female students was found dead the next morning. His face was frozen in terror, and his eyes were missing. A male student who harassed girls found himself covered in bruises overnight, as if an invisible force had beaten him mercilessly. Whispers spread. Zainab's spirit was punishing every man who looked at women with lustful eyes. Even in broad daylight, people heard footsteps in empty halls, doors creaking open and shutting on their own, and soft whispers to young girls. "Don't be afraid. I am here to protect you." The school was eventually shut down, but even then, the curse did not end. One night, a new watchman was appointed to guard the abandoned building. He had never heard of Zainab's story, but he was a wicked man with a history of harming young girls. As he roamed the empty hallways, he stopped to leer at a young girl passing by on the street. That was his last mistake. That night, his body was found hanging from the school gate. His eyes were missing. On the wall, written in blood, were the words, "Zainab is watching. Zainab will never forgive."